So this is how the downfall begins. Not with a scandalous headline, not with an on-court brawl, but with a single out-of-touch executive making one of the most tone-deaf public statements in WNBA history. The Indiana Fever, who were once the feel-good story of the season thanks to the arrival of Caitlin Clark, now find themselves at the center of a public relations nightmare. And it all traces back to President Kelly Krauskopf. Her comments weren't just miscalculated. They were offensive to the intelligence of every fan, analyst, and player who's been watching this season unfold. What she said has turned the tables. And fans are furious. Because when you try to minimize the role of your franchise savior, karma doesn't wait. It hits instantly and hard. Krauskopf essentially told the world that the Fever don't want to build their future solely around Caitlin Clark. In fact, she said the organization is focused on being more than just one player, that they want to be an enduring brand like Apple. But here's the thing, when you have a generational talent like Caitlin Clark, you do build your future around her. You don't try to share the spotlight. You expand it, enhance it, and harness it. The second those words left her mouth, social media exploded. WNBA analysts went nuclear, and fans didn't hold back. Because if you disrespect the very person who dragged your franchise from obscurity into national relevance, you deserve every ounce of heat coming your way. Let's break it down. Krauskopf's comparison to Apple was not just bizarre, it was laughable. Apple didn't become Apple by pretending the iPhone didn't matter. They doubled down on it. They centered their entire ecosystem around it. So when the Fever president says they want to be like Apple but not rely on Caitlin Clark, it's like McDonald's try to hide the Big Mac and claiming they sell salads now. It's delusional. And fans? They weren't buying it for a second. They saw right through the PR spin and corporate lingo. Because the truth is simple. Without Caitlin Clark, the Fever are just another struggling franchise, invisible to the national spotlight. Before Clark's arrival, the Indiana Fever were drawing maybe 4,000 fans a game, sometimes less. The games weren't televised nationally. Their highlights weren't trending. They were, for lack of a better term, irrelevant. Then came Caitlin Clark. She sold out arenas across the country, on the road. She turned casual fans into diehards. She made the Fever must-watch basketball. And now the same executive team who benefited from that explosion in popularity wants to pretend it wasn't all because of her? That it was some kind of master plan from the front office? Please, the arrogance is astounding. And what's worse is the timing. These comments didn't come after a championship win. They didn't come after a playoff run. They came while Caitlin Clark is visibly struggling in a system that doesn't suit her game. She's fighting to get the ball. She's battling teammates who freeze her out. She's surviving a coaching scheme that minimizes her strengths. And in the middle of all that chaos, the front office chooses now to tell the world they're not too dependent on her. That's not brand building. That's sabotage. The fans were already fed up. They've been watching this train wreck all season, and this was the final straw. The response was immediate and brutal. Social media lit up with angry posts, hashtags, and calls for accountability. ESPN segments dissected the comments like an autopsy. Analysts called out the Fever for being tone-deaf and borderline disrespectful. Some even went as far as to suggest Caitlin Clark would be better off in a different market when her rookie contract is up. And honestly, they're not wrong. Because let's be clear, Caitlin Clark isn't a role player. She's not a good rookie on a rebuilding team. She's a once-in-a-generation star, a transcendent talent who moves tickets, drives viewership, and grows the game globally. If the Fever can't recognize what they have in her, another team will. New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, those cities would kill to have someone like Clark on their roster, and they'd build an empire around her. Meanwhile, Indiana's out here making sure she doesn't overshadow anyone. Are you kidding me? Even other WNBA players get it. Sonia Citron just said she's thrilled to be playing with Caitlin in the All-Star game. That wasn't just a nice comment. It was a message that players around the league respect Clark. They want to play with her. They understand that she makes everyone around her better. The fact that Fever leadership doesn't see that, or worse, doesn't want to see it, says everything you need to know about the dysfunction behind the scenes. And let's not forget how bad the optics are here. We're not talking about some random tweet. These were official comments from the president of the franchise. This was deliberate, prepped, rehearsed, signed off on. They really thought this was the right time to push the narrative that they're bigger than Caitlin Clark. And now they become a punchline, a cautionary tale on how not to run a professional sports team in the era of superstar empowerment. The karma came quick, and it hit hard. Overnight, the Fever went from WNBA darlings to league laughingstock. The narrative flipped. Instead of being praised for drafting the most marketable player in women's basketball, they're being roasted for not knowing what to do with her. They're losing fan goodwill, media respect, and possibly, down the road, Caitlin Clark herself. That's what happens when you mistake luck for strategy. When you think drafting a superstar was your brilliance instead of your blessing. But the fallout doesn't end there, because now every move the Fever make is under a microscope. Every substitution, every quote, every play drawn up for someone not named Caitlin Clark is being dissected and criticized. Fans have become watchdogs, and rightfully so. They know what's at stake. They've seen this movie before. A generational star wasting her prime with a clueless front office while the rest of the league moves forward. They don't want to see it happen again. And let's talk about the coaching for a second, because that's a whole other disaster. Stephanie White is running an offense that looks like it was designed in a lab to frustrate Caitlin Clark. The motion-heavy sets, the lack of spacing, the predictable play calls. It's like they're trying to prove they can win in spite of her instead of because of her. And it's not working. The numbers don't lie. The fans aren't happy. And the tension is boiling over. Now, you got players like Aaliyah Boston doing everything right, playing hard, adapting, thriving alongside Clark. And somehow the front office still thinks this chemistry happened by accident, that it wasn't Clark's presence creating those opportunities. The irony is staggering. They want a sustainable brand, while actively dismantling the foundation of that brand in real time. Caitlin Clark doesn't owe the Fever anything. Let's be real. She could have been drafted by any team. Indiana was lucky, insanely lucky, and instead of showing gratitude, they're showing ego. Instead of loyalty, they're offering indifference. That's not how you retain a star. That's how you lose one. Other organizations are watching this mess unfold. They're already preparing their pitches for when Clark's rookie contract ends. We'll build around you. We'll listen to you. We'll make you the face of the league. Meanwhile, Indiana is talking about being the Apple of the WNBA. Newsflash, Apple never downplayed the iPhone. They celebrated it. They put on billboards. They centered everything around it, and they succeeded. The merchandise numbers don't lie either. Caitlin Clark jerseys are selling faster than anything the WNBA has ever seen. TV ratings for her games dwarf everyone else's. She's not just a player, she's a movement. And the fact that the Fever leadership can't or won't embrace that is mind-boggling. It's malpractice. And yet, here we are, watching a franchise fumble a bag on the most important asset in the history of its existence. Think about that. Caitlin Clark is not just a high-performing athlete. She is a cultural phenomenon, a marketing goldmine, a ticket to global relevance for a league that spent decades begging for mainstream attention. And instead of leveraging that once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, the Fever's front office has somehow decided that diluting her spotlight is a better path to long-term success. It's baffling, it's frustrating, and it might just go down as one of the most short-sighted executive decisions in women's sports history. But let's not pretend this is just about basketball. This is about business. This is about optics. Caitlin Clark turned the WNBA from a niche league into a viral talking point. She drew in viewers who had never watched a women's basketball game before. She made ESPN shift programming. She made Stephen A. Smith talk about the Fever. Do you have any idea how hard that is to pull off in a media landscape dominated by NFL quarterbacks and NBA free agents? And now that the whole world is watching, the Fever decided to say, let's not give her too much credit. That's not strategy. That's suicide. You want to be Apple? Let's really talk about Apple. When they dropped the first iPhone, they didn't say, but don't forget about our iPod Shuffle. They didn't worry about their other products getting overshadowed. They embraced the moment. They rode that wave to the top, and they built an empire around one revolutionary idea. Caitlin Clark is the iPhone. She is the centerpiece, the revolution, and the Fever have the audacity to downplay in the name of some vague concept of brand balance. Please, here's the part the Fever executives clearly miss. When you have a superstar, you don't diminish her and make others comfortable. You lift her up and let her elevate everyone around her. Great franchises understand that. Look at the Bulls with Michael Jordan. Look at the Lakers with Magic Johnson. Look at the Mercury with Diana Taurasi. You don't minimize, you amplify. The stars bring the eyes bring the money brings the championships. That's the formula. It's not complicated, unless you're in Indiana, apparently. And it's not just the front office that's catching heat. Stephanie White's offense looks like it was stolen from a college intramural playbook. Caitlin Clark, the best passer the league has seen in years, is reduced to dribble handoffs and off-ball curls that go nowhere. She's being asked to adapt to a system instead of the system being adapted to her. That's backwards. That's offensive. That's organizational malpractice wrapped in a jersey. The damage is already being done. You can see it in Caitlin's body language. You can hear it in her pressers. That spark, that fire, it's still there, but it's flickering behind the weight of frustration. Every missed opportunity, every wasted possession, every game where she's not being used as the focal point adds up, and fans are noticing. They didn't come to see a motion offense. They came to see Clark cook. They came to see logo threes, bullet passes, and swagger. They came for her. And when they don't get that, they leave. Now, let's talk about the brand the Fever want to build, because that word keeps getting thrown around like it means something. What brand? What identity? Before Clark, the Fever's brand was irrelevance, an afterthought, a punchline. Now, they have a chance to build something real, something iconic. But you don't build that by leveling the playing field. You build that by riding your biggest wave to shore and planting your flag in the sand. Caitlin Clark is that wave, and instead of surfing it, the Fever are trying to throw sandbags on it. The merchandise tells the story. Caitlin Clark gear flies off the shelves. Her jersey sales dwarf those of her teammates. Her name trends even when she's not playing. She's not just the face of the Fever. She's the face of the league. The numbers back it up. The receipts are there. But for some reason, Krauskopf and company think it's smarter to diversify attention than to cash in on the singular player who made them relevant. That's not balance. That's ego. And let's not ignore the ripple effect this creates around the league. Every rookie, every star, every prospective free agent is watching this saga unfold. They're asking themselves, is this an organization that values greatness? Or is it a team that will throw me under the bus the moment I shine too bright? The Fever are building a reputation, and not the good kind. They're telling the world, we don't like when one player gets too big. That's not just a Caitlin Clark problem. That's a future talent problem. That's a recruiting disaster waiting to happen. The irony here is brutal. The very thing the Fever fear, being too reliant on Caitlin Clark, is the only thing keeping them relevant. If she walked tomorrow, the sellouts would disappear. The national TV spots? Gone. The hype? Vaporized. This isn't a balanced ecosystem. This is a planet with one sun, and that sun is Caitlin Clark. And if you don't keep her happy, that sun sets on your franchise, your relevance, and your bottom line. Meanwhile, other teams are salivating. You think New York wouldn't build a super team around her? You think Chicago wouldn't hand her the keys and $1 billion marketing campaign? You think Nike wouldn't pay her more to play in a bigger market? The Fever are playing with fire, and they don't even seem to know it. Because the truth is, Caitlin Clark has options, and the WNBA is entering a new era where stars use that power. The league isn't just growing, it's evolving. Player mobility is rising, visibility is booming, and loyalty is earned, not assumed. Indiana better wake up and realize that. Because if they keep trying to turn a generational moment into a team-building Kumbaya circle, they're going to find themselves right back where they started. Empty seats, invisible ratings, and zero national interest. Let's be real. Caitlin Clark is not just a basketball player. She's a movement. She's a brand. She's a generational icon in the making. And icons don't tolerate disrespect. They don't stay where they're not valued. They don't wait around for egos to catch up to reality. They leave, and they take the spotlight with them. The Fever have one job. Don't blow this. That's it. Just do what every great franchise has ever done. Embrace the star. Build around her. Empower her. Let her lead you to places you couldn't reach on your own. And if that means swallowing some pride, so be it, because the alternative is far worse. Being remembered as a franchise that lost Caitlin Clark because they couldn't get out of their own way. And if that happens, well, Karma won't just be instant, it'll be permanent. This isn't just a PR blunder. It's a test to what kind of franchise the Indiana Fever want to be. Do they want to be a dynasty built around a legend? Or do they want to be a cautionary tale about pride and mismanagement? Because right now, they're leaning heavily toward the latter, and the basketball world is watching. So if you're Kelly Krauskopf, the message is simple. Apologize, recalibrate, and start acting like you understand the gift you've been given. Because Caitlin Clark doesn't need the Indiana Fever to be a star. But the Indiana Fever absolutely need Caitlin Clark to be anything more than a footnote. This was the wake-up call. The fans are speaking. The media is shouting. And Karma? Well, Karma already made her first move. And you better hope there's still time to fix it. Because if not, Caitlin Clark might just write the next chapter of her legacy in a different city. One that actually knows what to do with greatness.